Premier Zhou Enlai. So here we have the grand opening here for the exhibition of People's Premier Zhou Enlai. And here you can see we are brought to you by CCTV and CGTN. And right now we're at the opening ceremony. So let me show you around the exhibition. So we also have a working staff here to accompany us. To all the viewers, my name is Chen Anqi from the Zhou Enlai Exhibition Hall. So right now we're at the entrance of the exhibition hall. Here is the bronze status of Premier Zhou Enlai, and he's around 3 meters tall. And the back is the landscape of China. And this is made by the white marbles. And I hope you can have a closer look. And the upper is the called crab apple. That's the most favorable flowers by Premier Zhou Enlai, and that's around 78 crab apple, because that represents also marks the 78 years that Premier Zhou Enlai dedicated his whole life to the development of China. And we started from here, this exhibition 1. And here I show you the whole map back then, China. Back then, because China was split into different parts. So under this big context, on March 5th, 1898, Zhou Enlai was born in Huai'an, Jiangsu province. This is the house of Zhou Enlai, and is Mr. Zhou Zhou's father. And by then he works as a government clerk. So here show you the pictures representing Zhou Enlai's childhood. And this is the Sushu, that's the Sushu embroidery. So Zhou Enlai actually have 2 mothers, and this is his second mother. And at 9 years old, his 2 mothers were passed away. So by then, Zhou Enlai started to carry the burden of the whole family. His 4th uncle wrote a letter to Zhou Enlai and asked him to move to north east of China. That's also a key turning point in Zhou Enlai's life, and this is his previous used products, and this is actually from his 4th uncle, and this is also like the tables, the chairs used by Zhou's family. And by then, to the 12 years old, he moved to the northeast area, and also by then he started to change his ideas or the exhibitions. So he started to read the books regarding revolutionary. And this is show you a painting. I believe all of us have learned that in our elementary school. So the president asked the students why you studied. Someone to say, well, my family keeps rich. At the Zhou Enlai side, I study for the China's rising. This is a very brave and great exhibition, although he was just 13 years old. And this is the photos at the Nankai Middle School. So he went to Tianjin University and studied in the Nankai Middle School. So this is Zhou Enlai, right? Yes. The first on the left, front row. Why he studied at the front row? Because actually the seats is in the order of the study performance. He always top of the class. That's why he sit at the front row. Here is where is he? Oh, here it is. This is Zhou Enlai. This was Zhou Enlai, and this is the school drama. Okay, this one actually is in a female character. So that's the performance. So in this photo, that's the stage picture in the Nankai Middle School, as in the school drama. That's the name was called Aunt Chu. Because by then, Zhou Enlai saw that the drama can really recall people's aspiration. And let's continue. And here is a big mirror. That's actually the mirror in front of the school's entrance. So Nankai always have a very strict requirement on students' conduct. And the school style actually is quite like the ancient Rome style. So actually later on, the Nankai Middle School became Nankai University. By then there was no Nankai University. So after he graduated from Nankai Middle School, he went to Japan. And at Japan, he started to learn Marxism. So here is the application to the university. He applied for the Kyoto Imperial University. He also wrote the letters to his previous classmates to show his aspiration of Marxism and socialism. And he went back to China. And so started from the day he went back, he joined the May 4th movement. And here is the 觉悟, that means the awakening society. That's the cell. So before, there's only around 20 members in this cell called awakening society. And they also have a nickname. So what's the nickname for Zhou Enlai? It's number 5. It's a number 5 that in Chinese is 5号, and his wife Deng Yingtao is 1号. 1920, Zhou Enlai led the revolutionary activities, and he was arrested and put into the prison. And here show you the manuscript that he studied books in the prison. Actually, he also accumulated a lot of ideology and socialism thoughts in the prison. And this is the painting show you that's in the prison. And this one holding a book, that's Zhou Enlai. This is the door of the prison. And then he went to Europe for further study. So with other 197 students, they was on board and went to the Europe. I believe we have seen this ferry before in the movies or the TV dramas. So because they not really have a lot of money, so they all live in the lower level of the ferry. In Europe, he compared the different ideas of the socialism, and that's also called the new ideological trend or the new thoughts. And they also establish the communist style, or the Chinese Youth Communist Party. So that's also the earlier group of the Communist Party members. And the middle is Zhou Enlai. And Li Yongzhen, Li Fuchuan, and Deng Xiaoping, let's all return back to China with Zhou Enlai. And Zhou Enlai is not just the one that loved the country so much. And this is the bag he used in France. And this iron he used in France. It's quite different from what we use today. So let's at the back I put the wool in, or put the curls inside. And what waiting ahead of Zhou Enlai is the very heavy burden of developing a new China. So let's go upstairs. To all the viewers from CCTV and CGTN, right now we show the live stream from the China Premier Zhou Enlai exhibition in the Huai'an, China's Jiangsu province. Chen Enqi is our special guest today, and she showed us the first exhibition hall. That's the early stage of Premier Zhou, and here we come to the revolutionary course. So that's the part when Zhou Enlai back to China from Europe, from France. And that's also started his life in the Huangpu Military Academy. I think a lot of our viewers saw this picture before. So he take part of the role in the political department. So back then, it's like the party, the army established the party representatives and the political department. So that's the mechanism that we didn't have before. So that is the new start. This is a picture of Huangpu Military Academy. And it's also the uniform. This is the 1925 Huangpu uniform. We only have 3 hats left in China. So this is the hat, the spoon, uniform used in 1925. We only discovered 3 hats. So this is what they wore in 1925 at Huangpu Military. And this is the picture showed the East War. At the eastward expedition, and also start the second round of eastward expedition. And he also, Zhou Enlai, led the troops, and this is what Zhou Enlai wrote in the success of eastern expedition, and went to Shantou. And he also appointed as the head of the administration. So he was in charge of 25 provinces. So this is the bugle call. So this is bugle call actually for the military. Every move they're waiting for the bugle call. And actually the role was very important, and this is also the first time a Chinese party member took the very important administrative role. This is in 1925 in Guangdong province. And the third communist uprising in Shanghai. And this is also the base of the Central Committee of the Communist Party. So Zhou Enlai actually conduct the uprising, but in the end, the uprising of Shanghai failed because the betrayal of Jiang Jieshi. And this also later on started the Nanchang uprising. And in the film of the founding of an army, actually also showed the story behind the Shanghai uprising and Nanchang uprising. Actually, Zhou Enlai was really putting a lot of efforts behind to push the uprising. August 1st, 1927, this is the picture showed the map of Nanchang Uprising. That's also the first battle against the Kuomintang troops. So we also called the Army Day of August 1st. And this is what they used in Nanchang Uprising. It's the rice scarf. So where here is Zhou Enlai. The one who was speaking. He is a major general. This is during the Nanchang Uprising. And here we'll show you that's a naked eye 5D effect of Nanchang Rising introduction. So here show you the whole map, the route. So we also experienced the White Terror that's under Kuomintang's domination. So in the 6th plenary session of the Communist Party, Zhou Enlai was a member of the Central Bureau. So we also call the Zhongyang Teke, as the intelligence agency. That was established by then. So from 1933 to 1935, there was the experience of 5 times of encirclement. This is happened during the anti-encirclement. Here show you that's in the area of Soviet. As he used during that time period. So they failed at the 5th anti-encirclement. That's why they started the long march. So here show you the picture that the Red Army left the Soviet area and started their journey. And started October. It started a long march. Zhou Enlai actually took a lot of heavy burdens, a lot of roles and responsibilities in the long march. So in January of 1935, started the Zunyi meeting. That's also the most significant meeting in the Chinese communist history. And this is where he lived during the Zunyi conference and also the items Zhou Enlai used during the long march. In the meeting, Zhou Enlai proposed that Zhou Enlai the Mao Zedong will take a key leadership role, and that's also traversing the snow-capped mountains and the grassland. And Zhou Enlai also experienced different difficulties, and he also got quite a big sick when they crossed the grassland. And here is Yang Lisan, and Zhou Enlai insists that we should carry the Yang Lisan's body back to the base. And here is the picture showed the troops successfully arrived in Shanbei, in the Shanxi province, the north part of the Shanxi province. 1936, December 12th, Zhang Xueliang, Yang Hucheng, the first Jiang Jingshi to start the war against Japan, and they start the Xi'an incident. Here also a short video clip to introduce the Xi'an incident. So that's also laid the solid foundation for the future unified the war line against the Japanese, and Zhou Enlai in the middle part. And this is the pilot. You can see the airplane actually by then was in a very bad condition. And Zhou Enlai wear the pilot suit. And Zhou Enlai in Taiyuan, Nanjing to forge the second cooperation between the CCP and the Kuomintang. They start several rounds of negotiation between two sides. And also announced the declaration. And that's also the point where the Kuomintang accept the Chinese Communist Party's role and status. And this is the map show you by then the army troops. And also we started the activity during the World War II. That's also happened at the Wuhan. And here in Chongqing, we established the Red Army base. So we also established a united front to fight the war. And also established the Southern Bureau. That's during the anti-Japanese war. So this is Southern Bureau of the Central Communist Party of China, with a friendly and harmoniously large family. Also want to represent the spirit. And this is the words inscribed by Zhou Enlai. And the picture is his wife, Deng Yingzhao. And he see a picture show Zhou Enlai paid a visit to the Newer Force Army. And we know actually Zhou Enlai's right arm was injured once. And actually during the journey giving the report to the Central Committee of the Communist Party, and he fell down from the horse and injured his right arm. And here is the Zhou Enlai and Deng Yingzhao and with other members. And here is, and also the adopted daughter, a very famous film director. And they took the picture in Soviet Union. And here is also a picture showing Zhou Enlai recover his right arm after injury. And Zhou Enlai was also appointed as the General Secretary of the party at the first plenary of the 7th Congress meeting. And here actually is a very interesting painting that he's called the hero of spinning wheel. This is spinning wheel. and he participated in the contest. And he was really good at spinning. So after the anti-Japanese war, you see this is Mao Zedong. This is the hat called the cock hat. Actually, that's a very trendy and fashion product by then. And this is the picture took. They went to Chongqing for negotiation. And here is the years in Plum Garden. That negotiation actually lasted for 10 years. It's not an easy task. Zhou Enlai also said it's really consumed 1/5 of my lifetime efforts. In Nanjing, Zhou Enlai talked to the media outlets. He said, Nanjing would be back for sure. In 1947, Hu Zunan's troops started the war in Shanxi province. So the Central Committee decided they left Nanjing and Shanxi province. And here show you the documents that including the famous wars and also the decision made back then. And here we see this is the car. That's the time they went back to Beijing, and this is a Jeep car they used for the troop reviews or the troop inspections. You can see from the video clip, this is to inspect the troops in 1949. And this is the Jeep they use from United States. So this is show you the picture. That's the foundation laid for the monument to the people's heroes. So this is at the Tiananmen Square, monument to the people's heroes. This is the words that inscribed by Zhou Enlai. So that's the words to the people's heroes and to the armored troops who devoted themselves to the new China. They sacrificed themselves for Chinese people's lives. So this come to the building of the Great Course. So this is also forming the government agencies. So Zhou Enlai served as the premier of the Government Administrative Council of the People's Republic of China and also the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So this was the speaker use in 1949. I hope you can see it clearly. This is not the real one. This is the duplicated one. This is from the Capitol Museum. It's around 154 centimeters. And this is 1954, and this picture shows the Chairman Mao and Premier Zhou discuss the work. And Zhou back then served as the premier of the government administrative council. And this is the working documents back then. A lot of actually here actually is showed to the public for the first time. This is the original ones. To show you, this is the steel. Hope you can see it clearly. This is the big steel of the government administrative council, or later on replaced by the state council. And this is the watch, actually it's developed and produced in China, the Shanghai watch, and also the Chinese tunic suit. And Zhou Enlai concerned about two things. One is the agriculture or the water conservancy, because that's really delivered the benefits to the people. So in the 1950, went to the Huai'an to deal with the water conservancy. And for Zhou Enlai spent 8 days to conduct the on-site observation in Sanling and also the three gorges. So Zhou Enlai spent a lot of time in the reservoir and the water conservancy, and he also, before as the first Minister of Foreign Affairs, he also laid a solid foundation for China's foreign policies. So with signing the Sino-Soviet Union Friendship and the Mutual Benefit Declaration, this is the first foreign declaration, and this is also the first diplomat document signed by Zhou Enlai after the China established. And this is also the credentials we received from the Soviet Union. And here is also the treaty. That's the first treaty signed after the China established. And here is Geneva Conference led by Premier Zhou. You can see Zhou Enlai's strides, the way he walking is always strong and vigorous. And this is the coat Premier Zhou worn in Geneva Conference, and this is also suitcase he used back then. in the Asian African Conference. And Zhou Enlai raised the concept of seeking common points while reserving difference. And let's look at the video clip, and also next to it is the photos. The Zhou Enlai visits the Asian and African countries. And here show you in different screens combined all together. That's the big picture of mushroom cloud. As December 26, 1970. The first nuclear submarine enter the water. And this is also the hydrogen bomb. And the first atomic bomb. So this is the nuclear submarine, and it's the rockets. And since Zhou Enlai was also the key member to establish the military, and they also established the system of military ranks. And Zhou Enlai always paid a visit to the military service. For the exhibition hall of Premier Zhou Enlai, actually were established in 1988. We got first approval by the State Council in 1986 and opened to the public in 1992. And the People's Premier Zhou Enlai, these words actually is inscribed by Deng Xiaoping. This is the pencil sketch to show that under the Zhou Enlai's and also the Central Party Committee's leadership, a lot of talents overseas went back to China to pay their contribution to the establishment and development of China. So how long have you worked here? More than 2 years. So born after 1990s, right? So what's your feeling working here? Every time when I'm introducing the whole life of Premier Zhou Enlai to the audience, actually that helped me to get more understanding of Premier Zhou. You see a secretary to Premier Zhou. General Jidong, the secretary to Premier Zhou. Actually, today, because it's the big day, so we are all here with the Biden, the colleagues. And we're doing a live stream. Would you please introduce about your work with the Premier Zhou? I started my job in 1968, as August 15th, 1968. I started the clerk job. For Premier Zhou, he was a great person, a prominent figure. But he's really close to us. He really is got the perfect balance between the great and approachable. So if we look back to the stories between me and Premier Zhou, I think his working style, his working spirit was really great. As also mentioned in the 19th National Conference, where President Xi talked about we should stay true to our aspiration. That's also very true to the Premier Zhou, because he always thought about his original aspiration. Actually, I started work with Premier Zhou when I was 25 years old, but he was more than 70 years old. And actually, the Premier Zhou, or the late Premier Zhou, worked really, really hard. Every day he could sleep around 5 to 6 because a lot of the time, like, he worked really, really hard. Like, he maybe just could sleep like 3 or 5 o'clock in the morning. He was not really good in, like, he had the heart disease. So he's actually, the physical condition was not really good, but he still worked till the late night. That's consumed a lot of energy. Like one time, like after he went back home, that he really exhausts all his energy. So I really hold out him back to the room. So they work really hard, really dedicated himself to the development of China. Because of late Premier Zhou's efforts, we got a big development in agriculture, education, military. And this is the picture that showed by the Italian respondent, and he received. This is the with the Nixon. And during the meeting with President Nixon, he said, I only had 2 secretaries, one for the document part, another for the military part. So Chen Jiadong from the Foreign Affairs Ministry was in charge of the whole document parts. So talking about how the late Premier Zhou celebrated the Chinese New Year. So right now we are also during the Chinese New Year holiday period. So to my best of knowledge, he didn't really celebrate the New Year. Didn't have the reunion dinner. Just keep working and working. So the first sentence I said, like, wish you a good New Year. I said it's the Chinese New Year. But I also heard the sound of firecrackers. That he still works. So talking about the Chinese New Year, I believe that the late Premier Zhou kept working through the whole New Year. So to the older viewers, the special guest with us, the General Ji Dong, he was also the last secretary to the Premier Zhou. So thank you very much for the General. Is the bodyguard, Mr. Gao Zhenpu, to the late Premier Zhou. So when you started to work for Premier Zhou, started from 1961. You saw the picture. That's at the Beijing hospital. So there's a farewell ceremony or the funeral of late Premier Zhou, and this is the party flag covered on the late Premier Zhou. This is a very precious one. Yes, Jiangsu and we carried a bone ash of late Premier Zhou. For his wife Deng Yingchao, she separated into 4 bags of bone ash. So we carried the 4 bags of bone ash. That's in January 15th, 1976. So we received the bone ash from Deng Yingchao, and we went to the Tongzhou airport. We scattered the ashes from the plane. That plane for the agricultural purpose. So there was a funnel on the plane. So when ashes were scattered in the Beijing area. So because he was the premier of Beijing for 26 years, for the first bag. Another is a Miyun Reservoir, because the Miyun Reservoir really requires Premier Zhou's a lot of time and efforts. They always to talk about to serve for the people, no matter you live or died. So they says their ash also can be the fertilizer for the land. So they saying that they still can deliver the benefits to the people even after they died. And the 3rd bag we scattered at the Haihe. So I asked the pilot whether they could fly a little bit lower. And the pilot told me that the flying speed, the altitude, and the place actually is approved by the State Council, so we cannot really change it. But we scattered over the Haihe area. So a lot of time we accompanied Premier Zhou for like the conducting the on-site observation for the jobs to meet the foreign guests. I'm talking about the last bag of ashes. Because people all very, very much loved the late Premier Zhou. A lot of people asked whether we can keep one bag of his ash. So I really hold that the last bag in my arms. So thank you very much for your introduction. So this is the bodyguard to the late Premier Zhou, Mr. Gao Zhenpu. Thank you very much for your introduction. So this is a telegram. And this is a train also in the name of Premier Zhou. For Premier Zhou's whole life, he dedicated himself to deliver the tangible benefit to the people. He always paid a lot of visits to the different area, different province of China. He always stayed together to all ethnic groups in China. And in 1966, the earthquake happened in Shanghai, and the Premier Zhou paid 3 visits to the attacked place. And this is a ward. So you can see on the bed of the ward, there was a table. He still could work, even though he was really sick. And this table actually was designed by his wife, Deng Yingchao. So this table was not packable. This is the shoes that Premier Zhou worn after he was in hospital. And this is from the June 1st, 1976. Start by then, he got a lot of operations, like 13 operations, nearly one per every 40 days. And he was in the hospital for 580 days. He experienced 13 operations. And out of that number, there was 2 really big operations. But even though he was in the hospital, he still kept working and meeting the people home and abroad. And this is the working staff that they really asked late Premier Zhou to really have good rest. And the Premier Zhou was really busy, and actually he has no time to rest. And he also not really listened to us. So that is why we wrote this to Premier Li. So this is all the working staff. We together had this called the Daziba. Actually, that's also the big character poster. So after we wrote this, we paste to the door of Premier Zhou's office. And he actually was very happy to see this, to see the poster, and say, okay, brought the writing brush to me. So he wrote this. I accept that. By the way, that should also depend on the real situation. Because the real situation is that he was really busy. It happened as 1967. We wrote this February 3rd, and we pasted the morning of February 4th. And he wrote these on February 10th. I actually saw this. I've really recalled my memory. I say this is to the late Premier Zhou. We want to complain to you, so we want you to change your working style and life habit so that to cope with your physical condition, that in order to work longer for the party, for the people, and also bring the benefit to the whole society. This is the party and the revolutionaries' requirement. So we propose this in the interest of the party. So we want you to accept our requirement. This is basically what we wrote in this big character poster. And late Premier Zhou said, okay, I accept your requirement. Let's depend case by case. So here is all the working staffs here. We sign our name here. So also can say 聂荣臻、陈毅、谢夫治。So it's like everyone who saw this, they really agree with us, so they all sign up their names here. So including like the nurse, the doctors, the working staffs, and also Premier Zhou's colleagues. And this is my name. Thank you very much. our special guest, Mr. Gao. He was the bodyguard to the Premier Zhou. And we also talk about the model couple, the late Premier Zhou and Deng Yingchao. They always be a role model to all the couples in China. And here showed like the small gifts from Premier Zhou to his wife Deng Yingchao. And this is the gown and also the cotton coat. Now here we are at the Huai'an, China's Jiangsu province, and we want to commemorate the 120th birthday of Zhou Enlai. And later on, we will see more and more people will come here to see the exhibition. And this is the picture wall. Here show a lot of picture or the photo album of the couple. And this is a Chinese flowering crab apple. That's the most favorable flowers by the couple. So to all the viewers, thank you very much for watching. See you next time.